Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for another monthly webinar session. Today, it's actually a very special and exciting moment, not only because of our webinar, but because of who we have here today and what we will discuss. Startup accelerator, एक टर्म जो आप सब वाकिफ होंगे, पर आज हम जो स्पेशल और एक्साइटिंग चीज करने जा रहे हैं वो है कि we have introduced here a service accelerator, one that you do not hear often of, and something that really resonates with the Pakistani audience, mashallah, because of the presence of companies that we have in this space. And to help us here, we have three special guests who have taken out time from their busy schedules. And I'm very excited to hear about their stories, their journeys, and things that we can learn from. And inshallah, take those learnings from them all the way to all the Pakistani companies and Pakistani participants that we have here to see more of Pakistani companies in Canada, in US, and inshallah, happy to answer any of your questions there. So with that being said, I would love to introduce our guests here. First and foremost, Ali Hussain. Thank you so much, Ali Bhai, for joining. It's a pleasure to have you. Ali Hussain is a managing partner at Vixul, which is called the Y Combinator of the service space, which is, if you are familiar with Y Combinator, it's one of the largest startup accelerators, has raised over 1,000 companies. So they are the trailblazers when it comes to the service company accelerators. And inshallah, we'll hear more about Vixul. But about Ali, he has more than 30 years of experience leading and being in the space of service delivery. He has led cloud service delivery in the IT space. He now is a managing partner at Vixul, helping companies for their journeys from zero to tens of millions of dollars. And mashallah se, do-teen successful exits we have. And inshallah, we'll hear more about Ali from himself as well. But apart from Ali, we have two other special guests, Mr. Sajid, who's the CEO of Ascend Analytics, who actually started in Pakistan and now moved to Canada and has leveraged the services being offered by Vixul. And mashallah, say he's now serving the American market. More to hear from him as well. So thank you, Sajid bhai. It's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm very excited and looking forward to hearing more from you. Next, we have Mr. Umair, another great Pakistani highlight case study. He's the founder and CEO of Stormatics. It's focused on the Postgres world in the SQL space, and he's currently selling to Canadian clients. And one thing I'll highlight is that he's currently working with the government of Quebec as well. So a very good, a highlight for us, because Canadian government and compliance जो एक mental block लगा रहता है for Pakistani companies. So we have somebody who's already trailblazing, working with them. So very excited to hear more about how he got started and what he's doing with them, and what does he advise others and how they can actually get into the same space. So that being said, I'll pass the floor to Ali, who can actually lead this presentation, and will be leading the fireside chat with our other guests as well. So Ali bhai, off to you. Thank you for taking out time today.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. So thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. Really honored to be here. So let me a little bit of introduction to myself. आपने थोड़ा सा मेरा experience enhance कर दिया. इतना I'm a little bit younger than you're making me out to be. I'm actually, so the history is that we started a tech services company. I studied in the US and worked here for a few years, and then after doing that for a few years, we started a tech services company. We saw where the winds were blowing, knew that DevOps and AWS is really important right now, and just went all in on that, grew it. We got rewards from like Austin Fast 50, CRN 250, Inc. 5000 in terms of how fast growing we were. And we were, mashallah, were able to take it to a life-changing exit in 2019. So the actual services experience started is actually less than 20 years. The we have so, and then after we did that, we saw that this was one of the most fulfilling things that we could have actually possibly done with our career. We saw so many of our friends, they had this, oh, someday we're going to do a startup, and realistically speaking, they were never going to do it. And one thing that we also realized was just how lonely it was to actually build a services company. You decide that, well, I'm going to do a product startup, and I'm going to do the one in a thousand, one in 10,000 lottery. And you will get everyone in the world giving you very useful advice and do this, do this, do this. But actual very practical advice on the guidance on, hey, this is what you need to do, build a services company. We didn't actually do that. So from that perspective, we started working, wanted to operationalize that advice, make it accessible, make it so that people can have that available. And that's why we started Vixul, etc. And the way we see it is that we're building the knowledge base, both community knowledge and the public and private knowledge. And then in addition to that, we're connecting you with the people that you need to do, and building the community so that you can network with each other. Umair and Sajid, both of them are members of the Vixul community, and they're quite regularly attending. Even though we work with people from all over Umair, we're attending people in our annual conference, and so that happens. So Canada. I think one thing that I'm actually really impressed by with Canada is that it is actually a very, very good target for Pakistan services companies to target. The first part about it is that it's very open to immigrants. It is probably the most open to immigration countries. There have been some kind of narrowing down of things like that. I actually moved to Canada not too far ago. I properly moved like 2020 to 23 timeframe. But I've been, but just seeing this, and then when you talk about Canada, it gives you access to the full North American market. So if you actually look at the global GDPs, there are three GDPs that you care about. There is the US, the US plus Canada, the North American GDP, and then there's China, which US plus North America around 30 trillion. China is around 20 trillion. Europe is around that same amount, and Middle East, I believe, is around the 10 trillion mark. And that kind of gives you an understanding of the scale of difference that you get from being in having access to the North American market. In just a handful of cities and a few places, you have so much capital that you have access to. And you, in terms of how accessible these markets are, there's just two countries, and you already know the languages that you'd be using in these countries. Both of them have a very large population from the Pakistan diaspora. Even if I have not met any Pakistani who doesn't have family living in the GTA area, so you can find better Lahori food in GTA than you can find in Lahore. So I would say that this is Canada becomes a very good target for us, both from a personal perspective and from a business perspective, because the opportunity is large. And there is another part about it which goes back both to the opportunity and the accessibility of the opportunity. And it's something which is both good, like which on first glance can be good and bad, and something that when we're approaching coming into Canada or North America, coming into this market, that we have to appreciate and see. And that's the difference, the mindset difference. In terms of so being pretty judgmental about Pakistan or Pakistani culture over here, but in Pakistan there is this aspect of the personal. When it's a conversation between business and personal, the personal will govern your business behavior. And what you see in North America is the opposite, in that your business decisions, your business relationship will help build a personal relationship. And you can kind of see it in a few examples of this, like to put it into perspective and what that actually may mean. When over here you have reference to, right? And in Pakistan you also have this idea of safarish. But when you actually look at it, it's something that's different. When you're giving somebody's reference, you're saying, hey, I am not hey, I'm vouching for this person. This person knows what they're doing. You will be better off if you hire this person than some average Jewish person. There is not an aspect of personal favor involved. There is like something which is like, hey, I believe this is your interest, and as much as you believe that I follow your interest, it's something you do. And another aspect of it is that it won't actually get you the job. It won't get you the contract. It will make sure that your resume gets seen and you get a seat, you get a chance to present yourself. But it's nothing like it would be. There isn't a super shop thing. Really, at kind of the end of it is this. I don't know who remembers this very, very old movie. I forgot the name. Jerry Maguire. In which the movie starts with the scene with Tom Cruise having to screaming, "Show me the money," and a part of it is that, well, this is the way it is with business in here, and it is the way it should be. What you need to when you're talking to somebody, when you're working with somebody, you need to show them that you are going to solve their problem, that you are going to make them money. And so what can that translate into? So let's say if you're working with a startup founder, their first goal is going to be make my startup a success. Like I need to. They don't care. Anything else does not matter. The first thing that they actually want is that you're able to deliver what they ask for. The next is cover my that you'd be covering the gaps of the founder and technology. And the third is that, oh yeah, startups are tight on money, so they would be looking at affordability. Similarly, if you have somebody who's a large enterprise decision maker, the first thing that they actually care about is make my project successful, because it's also like they're not going to get the money. You're not going to, when you solve the business problem, you're not going to directly give them money. But what you're really going to do is you're going to set them up for promotion. So whoever you're talking to, manager, VP kind of thing, you need to create an environment where they can go to their boss and say, look at this that I have accomplished. You need to give me a raise. You need to give me that promotion. And another part of that is don't mess up so bad that it becomes embarrassing to them. So please don't mess up on security, for example. But which is actually one of the biggest hurdles that you're going to face, because you would be a relative unknown. But really, the key over there is that your job is to convince them that you are the option that will make them successful. They will if you look at like the big five, why they would choose GSI, why would they choose Accenture or IBM? The reason to choose Accenture or IBM is quite simple. You have a lot of reason to think that they can't be, you cannot, that Accenture and IBM, even if they make an embarrassing mistake, it won't, nobody's going to blame them because, oh, Accenture made a mistake. Like everybody uses Accenture. That, but if you, it also doesn't let them become a hero. And so when you're trying to fight for this business, you need to be, you need to put your cover both of these bases when you're talking to a large company. Any questions so far? Okay, so this is the marketing funnel, and I want you to kind of think of the problem in this way. We have, sorry, give me 1 second. I'm actually the meet window is covering my screen itself. So you have at the highest level, the customer doesn't know that they have a problem and that you can solve it. And at this stage, your job is to be able to, most of you are likely doing outreach. Another thing that you should be looking at is networking, presenting at events, creating content that describes the problem so the customer understands that they have the problem and you're the person that solves them. SEO plus AI focused search. If you, Omer has really good insights in how their company is benefiting from ChatGPT recommending them. So the equation on how your searchability has also changed, obviously social media, all of that you have to do. When you're talking about the customer is, the next step is consideration. Okay, we agree we have the problem. They understand that they have the problem, and now they're exploring solutions and vendors for that problem. And in this case, you should be looking at more high-level content, more deeper content that is going to deepen the relationship, go deeper in terms of like helping them understand the problems, and then allow for more personal one-on-one engagement to be able to so that they know so that you can start building that relationship, so you can actually start talking with them, so you can and be a part of the equation when they're ready to go. Beyond that is the conversion phase, when the customer is choosing the right solution and the vendor. And in this process, what you need to do is establish that, hey, we are going to be able to give you success. This is our process. It's you follow this. These are the case studies that show that we have delivered success to all of these people sooner. And one of the things that we would highly recommend is choose something, do something small, something like give them a way to test you out and build out the trust, so they can be so they won't think of you as that big a risk, because you are, and we all are. The only people that are not are companies like Accenture. And finally, once you've received the project, it's still not over with. You still have to continue to sell to them. This is not just about expanding the account, but also you have to keep the customer happy. You have to really show that we are on top of it. We are able to solve the problems. So as we continue, as you're looking at that marketing funnel, one thing that I really want you all to be thinking about is there is a cheat code for this, and that is positioning. So if you check out the book, The Business of Expertise by David C. Baker. David Baker, he's a consultant specifically focused on marketing consultants. And but this book is really good for anyone that is providing consulting services. And in his phrasing, positioning is the pivotal act of clarifying the problems your consultancy is solving for a specific audience, and how your approach is achieving that. So I definitely highly recommend reading this book. But this, what you should think about this positioning is as a chief code. And another firm that is another firm focused on being a consultant for marketing consultancies, at Hinge Marketing, they have a book, Spiraling Up, and they looked at these qualities of which firms are successful, and what they've said is that companies which have have a very strong positioning, that they're pursuing a well-defined group of clients, and they don't just go for everyone. They go for the people that are actually in the target. And then they're 3 times more likely to have a strong differentiator. These companies, they're almost growing at doubling when if you don't have such a strong positioning, your expected growth rate should be around 10%. So we were talking about the same marketing funnel, right? And when we talk about positioning, I want you to drive home why this is so important. If you look at the awareness side of the equation, I mentioned that, hey, we need to have a clear understanding of where your customer is, how to find them. Your message, like when you say, hey, this is actually who our customer is, this is where this is where we find them, these are the conferences, this is the content that they care about, these are the problems that they're facing. It means that by doing less, but doing the same thing in a more focused way, you're able to get more out of them. Similarly, each of the stages of the funnel, each of the stages of your relationship with your customers is just going to be enhanced as you narrow down your focus. You're able to deliver better because your team is more specialized, more focused on being able to deliver to that team. And so one of the realities is that less is more. If you do less, you're able to do it better and you're able to accomplish more. So that's kind of the cheat code that we have, that I would recommend. One thing to do. I didn't want to bore you too much with slides and educational content. We will share some stuff with you offline, so you can use that. But I do want you to kind of like, since we're focused on IT firms, these are the 5 places where we think that your positioning needs to have. And you need to understand the customer, and here's an easy 10-point test for you to kind of think about your questions. We're going to share this with you offline, but have the problem, have it defined in the sense of the customer need. You need to have that in a way that you can find the customer. And since we're focused on technology companies, we would highly recommend having a very a strong focus on what the technology is that you work with, because a lot of technology is bought and sold as technology. And then have a very clearly defined process which you can say is that this is why it's helpful, and then anything unique about your business beyond that. And so when you take that approach, you're going to see that you'll have more. Your marketing will be more effective. You'll be able to charge more. You'll be able to wrap up your team faster, and you can, with the higher gross margins, you'll be able to put that towards better use in terms of growing your business. So I want to start by introducing Omer Shahid. So let me introduce both Omer and Sajid. So Omer, why don't we start with you?
Sure. So, yeah, are you going to be doing something, or should I just
give a brief introduction to yourself, Omer? A little bit of background.
Okay.
Okay.
Now we were talking about this, right at the beginning of this session. But yeah, so I have a very, very niche focus area, and that is the PostgreSQL database. I've been working with open source software in the Postgres community for more than 2 decades. That kind of sort of establishes me as a subject matter expert. I think that people do believe that I am a subject matter expert over here. But I write a lot. I give presentations. My papers are accepted at global conferences, and I go and give my talks based on the experience that I have gathered. We do get a lot of traction from some online sessions that I conduct and the content that I write. Quite a few visitors to our website due to that as well. My company, Stormatics, is focused on providing services, professional services for Postgres. So the entire company is basically focused on a single technology. Every employee that I have, each one of them is focused on a single technology, and that is PostgreSQL. And yeah, that is the briefest of introductions, I guess.
And why don't we introduce Sajid? And Sajid, if you can do the same, share a little bit of background about yourself and Ascend Analytics.
Yes, for sure. Thank you for that. I started Ascend in 2020. Prior to that, I graduated from University of Waterloo here in Canada. Worked here for a bunch of different companies. Realized that at the end of the day, I am contributing as a cogwheel in a giant machine, and wasn't exactly very happy with that. So worked with big names as most people aspire to do right out of school, and then realized that I have a very set pathway, progressing from an analyst to a senior analyst, and then a director potentially 4 years after that if I'm lucky, and then a senior director. And I kind of did not like the prospect of doing all of that, like going through the paces without the kind of excitement that comes in with having a bigger impact of sorts. So I did something that at that time baffled a lot of people. That was deciding to move back to Pakistan. Honestly, everybody in my friend circle and then everybody that I practically knew of thought that it was the dumbest move I could do in my life. But in hindsight, it was probably the best thing that I had ever done. So I got an opportunity in Pakistan to work for an emerging unicorn, emerging markets property group, the parent company of Zameen.com, and got an opportunity to kind of set up the entire analytics foundation for the entire group. So gave me a very solid exposure of making architecture decisions and then taking things through and through. From there on, I went to work for Uber for Middle East, North Africa, and Pakistan, managing their analytics, and then realized how things work at petabyte scale in terms of data architecture. And then when COVID came into the equation, that's when things started looking really uncertain for the mobility sector as well as a lot of other industries as well. And then I kind of started thinking that these are extenuating circumstances, and in extenuating circumstances, there are a lot of opportunities as well, depending on the lens that you opt out. One of the more apparent opportunities at that time was that a lot of businesses that had never really thought about digital transformation were now being forced towards one. And that's the kind of inception journey of Ascend in 2020. We started very small, network with local companies, startups that were operating out of Pakistan, and then kind of enabled the data foundations for them that would help them grow at a fraction of a cost that it would have incurred to kind of build their own data divisions from scratch. 2021 is when we actually landed our first client. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the fireside as well. And then 2022 is where I realized that now that the base delivery system is set up in Pakistan, and I have resources that I can trust with delivery and managing the operations, I can move and then improve my proximity to the US market, and then kind of position ourselves as a US focused company with an offshore delivery, as opposed to a Pakistani company that's trying to export services outside. And then we'll talk a little bit more about how that nuance helps in closing enterprise clients as well. About 2.5 years ago is when we graduated from servicing startups and SMEs to actually servicing enterprises. And then within the same year, we really started thinking about, instead of going across different industries, like Ali mentioned in terms of positioning, we should really narrow our focus down to at max two, and then try and see which one of those really hits the right nerve with the kind of clients we're trying to close. And then we decided that that's going to be the healthcare niche. US healthcare is a very convoluted industry from a data standpoint, and then equally bigger opportunity as well. So last 2 years, we have really focused on the healthcare niche, and then more specifically on revenue cycle management related analytics, because 200 odd payers in the US insurance market, each payer has its own set of rules, and then that's been largely our journey thus far. But we'll talk a little bit more about things in the fireside as well.
Thank you. So yeah, and thank you for the introduction, both of you. So why don't I start with some questions from Umair. So you shared the brief story. I think one of the things that's interesting about your story is that you started off with working with Percona, and that is kind of where you started with developing international expertise. So can you talk through your journey of developing the name recognition for yourself and how you changed your employer's transferred from the employer-based name recognition into a personal name recognition?
So one small correction before I answer that question. I ended my journey at Percona before I started the entrepreneurship, right? But I started, way back. But yeah, so when I graduated, when I completed my degree, I was working in the typical, software consulting kind of an environment where, projects are going to be coming in from the US, and there's a back office in Pakistan that's servicing those projects. I actually worked as an employee of various different companies starting from 2002 till about 3 years ago when I founded Stromatics. And till then I was only doing a job. But about 2 years into my career, I got exposed to the Postgres community. It wasn't a conscious decision; it just happened. I almost was pushed into Postgres, but I worked with the community, the larger open source community, for more than 22 years after that. Now, what that did was that it wasn't just my day job that I was working on. It wasn't 9 to 5 for a paycheck, but I was working with a larger cause, and that is the open source software drive, and actually, contributing my time out of office hours as well for the community. So I got involved in events. I got involved in contributing code to the parent project, various different communities and committees of the community. I am part of talk selection committees. I was the head of the code of conduct committee. These are all global in nature. It's not confined to a particular geography. So the more involved that I got, and the more time I spent with the community, being active part of it, I think I ended up making a name for myself there.
Got it. And and while you were doing it, it wasn't just that. Even while you were at a job, you had started early. And Sajid, correct me if I'm wrong, but you also did some of that too, right? Some of the thought leadership work that you had started even before you started.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I was really interested in kind of following that Pakistani journey. There was a name and a terminology for people who had returned working for big names companies and then started their product startups in Pakistan. And then I was very curious to see what their personal motivations was, how much success do they find out. So within those circles, there was a lot of opportunity to kind of venture out and say that hey, your product is great, but I think your data foundation and the way you're tracking based on my own experience with their products or based on the conversations I've had with them, there was a lot of opportunity for me to kind of contribute to their journeys as well. And then within that, even without any marketing efforts, and Ali, you're familiar with that story, that at that time I just put out a LinkedIn post and then ventured out to help businesses that could leverage pro bono at least from a roadmap perspective, because they were extenuating circumstances at the time of COVID. And then that blew out of proportion. But the reason it blew out of proportion was because the 3 years prior to that, I'd been so active in the circles and like, having all of these conversations, even with the full-time job, that there was some degree, I wouldn't say to the extent of like, the deep expertise that Umair has, but like, there was some degree of knowledge expertise that was attributed to me heading, the data division of a leading organization, as well as having consulted for several startups that I did over that period of time. So yeah, I think like that certainly helps. And like, the bigger you can formulate that network, the better it would be when you try to cash that network as an entrepreneur. But you have to do the hard yards for that. Like, you have to put yourself out there. You have to make sure like you find yourself in unfamiliar places and then try to kind of settle in and understand what other people are doing. That luck surface area that we typically talk about. So yeah.
I think that's the last story. That's a really good way of putting it. And the both of you, I think, would say that a lot of success you had is attributed to the amount of networking you did. And that I actually want to give a huge shout out to Altamash and Sahib in terms of the work that they're doing in terms of building an IT community, building a community of around services in for Pakistani diaspora, especially in Canada. So thank you, and getting this platform together. Umair and Sajid, for both of you, what are some of the platforms that you've used for networking? So, Umair, why don't you answer first?
So networking. I think that the Postgres community, the open source community, has been my biggest and the strongest network, spread across all over the world. No matter where I go, as part of my my customer engagements, my consulting, there's someone or the other. And second to that, I think I've been part of this community that is focused on Pakistan. The acronym is OPEN. It stands for Organization of Pakistani Entrepreneurs. I am a board member of the Islamabad chapter, previously the president of the Islamabad chapter, and it has chapters in various different cities and parts of the world, including Toronto. So that is a very good network of Pakistanis that are focused on entrepreneurship, and the entire platform is designed to be able to help each other. That, I would say, has been also a tremendous network that has helped me expand my reach.
Sajid?
Yeah, for me initially, it was nothing like Open. I got introduced to Open a lot later in my journey, but initially for me it was very in-person focused. Like I said, at that time there was this huge influx of startups, and then they were getting very decent funding as well. And then a few co-working spaces in Lahore is where my networking journey initially started. Like I would go there to kind of service one of the clients, very small ones that I was working with, and then I would find out that there are 6 others who are also operating out of there. And then on the balcony, like over a lunch conversation, like we would just network and like find out about what each other is doing. And then it would end up with a very smart segue onto how we could potentially collaborate together in future as well. And then a lot of times, I would say like 9 times out of 10, it wasn't a commercial conversation. It was like, hey, you take all of this information and roadmap and what you can potentially do free of cost. I'm not looking for anything. But then that top of the mind recall that I got from that, where a lot of these conversations later converted into opportunities without any intention behind it initially, is how it all started. And then our first US client, actually, like the first break that we got was also talking to somebody that I was helping out, like set up their e-commerce analytics stack in terms of how they can track like propensity of purchasing different things, downstream economic metrics and all of that. And he mentioned that, look, we are nowhere close to where all of this would start making sense from a cost perspective. We would graduate there. But I know this friend of mine who I did a startup with, and he's working for another startup which has had a $20 million ARR journey in 8 months. And I think you should talk to their co-founder. And he introduced me to his friend, who introduced me to his partner, and then that's how we really got the first US client, like maturing that conversation. So a lot of times, what ended up happening for me was the initial conversations that I had solely from the perspective of helping out and democratizing access to analytics in the local community actually translated to a lot of bigger opportunities later down the line as well. So slightly different from Umair's journey. And then, when I moved back to Canada, my university had a participation in a community called Communitech. They focus a lot on product startups, not specifically service, but a lot of conversations matured from there as being a part of Communitech as well, and then working out of Velocity and that hub. And then obviously, like once we got introduced to Vixul, I visited Austin as well, learned a lot more about Open, and then started participating there as well. So it's been a mix of different things, but initially I would say that it was the in-person connections, and then really earning that trust with the kind of input that you're giving that translated in opportunities for us.
I think that's actually very key. Thank you for pointing that out. And I would say, if I were to summarize, put a different lens to the answer from both of you, one of the things that we would that is really common is take every opportunity you can to network, take every opportunity you can to meet people and talk to people. And when you're talking to them, share knowledge that shows that you know what you're talking about. Umair, you did that at a very, very specialized scale with Postgres. Sajid, I think your story, that's kind of what you're saying with the startups. I would actually say that the first 3 enterprise customers that we had, all 3 of them were at conferences, people that were walking around, you were having lunch with, sitting next to it in talks, having a conversation with them and talking to them and helping them solve the problem was actually how we brought all 3 of them in as customers. So that's a really good shout out. And another organization, Open, I would give them a shout out to. The first set of advisors that we had were from Open, and Open Silicon Valley. And if you connect with Open, you'll realize how many successful Pakistanis there are and how willing and how ready they are to help. And I highly recommend doing that. So we're running a bit short on time, and we'll be and we do want to make sure that other people get the chance to ask questions too. But there are some questions. Yes, go ahead, Aslan.
Sir, thank you so much. Wonderful having you here. Amazing session. I think one of the most useful sessions that we had. So my question is for Umair and Sajid. So, because I know Ali. So we have been to UT Austin, but I want to hear your point of view. How did Vixul help you?
Umair, do you want to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. I can go first. So I think one of the primary things, and I think I gave this feedback to both Ali and Arthur as well, is that in the entrepreneurship journey, well, the CEO it doesn't really stand for Chief Executive Officer. It stands for Chief Everything Officer, in my opinion. So you got to be doing everything in the organization, looking at all the verticals that run an organization. And there's no way that any human being is prepared for something like that, right? And I think that Vixul helped me tremendously, first in recognizing all of those pillars that are responsible to be running the organization, and then being able to tackle them.
Yeah, I think for me, the benefit has been multifaceted, but 2 things that I would really want to call out on. One is that we really did struggle a lot with our positioning. I mean, like we had service startups, we had serviced companies in logistics, manufacturing, practically taking everything that we could potentially take on to hit those revenue numbers, and then just taking that moment to pause and think that that got us from 0 to 1, and now that, like, we want to go from 1 to 10. Can we go with the same momentum, with the same kind of effort that is required to focus on 5 or 6 different industries, and that clarity of thought that Ali and Atir brought out in terms of, like, hey, it's going to be very painful in the short term, like, plugging out and deliberately saying no to people who do not align with the niche that you're trying to focus on, but you'll start to see its benefit. And to be very honest, like, it took me a good year and a half to kind of entirely convince myself that yes, this has merit. Like, I was obviously trying efforts on that front, but as an entrepreneur, like, if a certain industry is paying like 40-50% of your revenue, and then you start thinking that, like, my positioning is not really working on this one, so tomorrow if I start focusing on something else, am I saying no to this regarding revenue? So finding that nuance and then really understanding that as long as your messaging is not crystal clear, which positions you as the best person to do that job, you're going to struggle from that 1 to 10 journey. 0 to 1, you'll definitely be able to make it, like, and then 1 can be an arbitrarily large number. It could be the first $5 million that you do, or first $1 million in revenue that you do. But if you want to really hyperscale, then you need to find that niche focus. I think that was one of the things. The other one was where I remember having this conversation with Atir and Ali, and, like, they looked at my pricing and they were like, you know what, tomorrow if you if you triple that, I am quoting Atir on that, like, they're still gonna buy it from you. And I thought, yeah, like, it's we're not really doing value-based pricing at the moment because we're just penetrating in the market, but I'm gonna try something different and then risk maybe losing the client. So we didn't go to triple, but we literally overnight doubled, and that still worked. So, like, kind of there's those risks and chances that you can potentially take. Having a successful entrepreneur's lens on that has really helped us as well. And I think, like, it would go without saying that the community and the sort of expertise that they have on the panel, that is supremely helpful.
Yeah, so it was not a planted question, and initially when there was a pause, I thought, what are you going to answer on the spot? But the whole purpose was exactly what you said, because the whole purpose of this webinar is to put Vixul front and center. I think this is an excellent resource for everybody out there, all the people who are on this call. This is why I wanted to have this webinar, to put Vixul, because, in Canada, I think the saying is network is your net worth, right? So the best way to start is get networked with the mentors who have done that. And Ali and Atir Bhai is another legend. Maybe, another time we'll have him also. We also spent some good years at UT Austin. This is why we wanted to have this webinar. So do contact Vixul. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Really, really appreciate the shout out and the compliments. I guess the next person.
I think Hamza Bhai, you have a question. I'll go after Hamza Bhai.
Hello, Ji. Assalamu alaikum.
That's
First of all, thank you. Okay, I was just first of all, excellent webinar. It's Altamush Bhai is always shining and striding ahead to put the community on board. I was just wondering, what's the cost structure Vixul has if somebody wants to sign? Because we have few companies lined up from Pakistan and they want to be part of such initiative. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure. I guess wasn't feels a little bit too much like an Vixul advertisement to say that, but I'll just answer the question really quickly. Where what we kind of recognize is that there isn't really the reason we're set up as an accelerator is because there really isn't a dollar value at which the economics start making sense. So the way we have it set up is we're working with we'll accept 2 to 4% of equity in the business, and there is a monthly program fee which kind of like just for kind of like handling the various expenses of things. That's moderate, like around $500 a month. But really, our what we're aiming for is the 2 to 4% equity. Where if your business makes more than $5 million, you probably are not a fit for Vixul. where you're on the large side. Our goal was always to help very early stage companies who there is nothing available. Once you're at the 5 million mark, you can very easily hire the right consultants and get advice. I would say that in Flux 7 we used to spend around $50,000-$60,000 a year on advice and things like that. So, but which was like around like when we were like $3-4 million, we used to spend that much. So I would say that is something. Actually, sorry, it was close to $100,000. So, but I think once you like cross the $5 million mark, we can help put you in touch with people who will do this as kind of like consulting kind of thing, and but it doesn't quite align with exactly our mission. So,
And also, is it totally virtual, or you have to
virtual.
be on physical? Okay.
It's virtual, but we do actually have physical events. Like we have a physical conference that's coming up in April. Those events are not just restricted to Vixul companies, but it's the actual most of it is virtual.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
Abdullah.
thank you, Hamza Bhai. For people who don't know, Hamza Bhai is an ex-president of Pasha, one of the people who made Pasha.
Oh, wow.
President 2001, huh, Hamza Bhai?
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
2000, 2002.
Very powerful organization that has done a lot for the Pakistan ecosystem.
So I was a recent CC member for 3 years.
Okay, good.
Zahid, I think you were next.
Yeah. Well, firstly, thank you so much for this talk. I think one thing that stood out to me is like, coming from all is, if I were to summarize, the way to actually make name for yourself is not ads, but value creation and organic value creation. That was actually a good takeaway. One thing I'll ask for, like on behalf of the audience as well, when you can you break down when you're going from 0 to 1, and when you're presenting yourself to clients and sitting on the table, what are the things a service company should actually have checked out before coming in and not showing up as like, premature or unprepared? Like, if you were to give a few things, what they should be ready for, and style of like, what to present and like what points to tackle, if you can kind of like, break it down from that perspective.
So I think over here is the difference between an enterprise sales and a startup sales is really going to come up. I'm going to say that if you don't have the startup sales, then don't bother for the enterprise sales unless you come from the kind of background where you actually led delivery and sales for such an organization. To be honest, we did not come from a consulting. I did not come from both me and my partner Arthur, who Alchemist mentioned, did not come from a consulting background. So we had to go to that startup sales. But have a very clear understanding of what you're providing in terms of value. So value, it's saving you money in terms of like cost. That is value. Reducing your time to market. Creating revenue, like if you can create revenue for somebody, that's the ultimate value, right? Like if you can point out and say, if you do this, I will take this person, I will do this and take this percentage of the revenue. A lot of people will say yes. You need to develop, say that in terms of what that business is, and even at the early level, even at the startup level, you need to start speaking that language right now. Do not speak the language of, sir, we will provide you with React experts. It would be, the technology is a part of the conversation, but it is a part as the tool. It is not what you should be trying to sell. And as you start heading to more towards enterprise, we saw the three things, right? Like, okay, get me a promotion and don't get me fired. So with that insight, like when you're starting with your first enterprise clients, they are going to be very, very particular about, you sure you're not going to mess this up. I can tell you that our first deal, our biggest, the enterprise deal that made our business, we almost lost it because our enterprise assessment was $10,000, and they were like, yeah, I don't think you understand our needs if you can do an assessment for $10,000. Like, we believe it should be $30,000 because, and we think you don't understand our problem well enough. So that is an inversion of expectations that you need to have. But really, like, what they know you're smart. That's why that's the only way they're going to let you in on the table. They know that you have that expertise. That's the only way the enterprise is even going to start considering you. But then beyond that, you have to establish that, hey, I know how enterprise deals work. You are safe with me. I have a large enough team to be able to work on contingencies. We'll be able to provide these are the problems in terms of security. You need to be able to have the conversations with their security team to be able to because they are the security and our teams are most likely to be the people that are going to get you killed, because so you cannot mess up in talking to them. You have to make sure that we will not be an embarrassment to you, and you won't find your data out on the cloud somewhere, that we're not going to compromise these laws. So as much as you possible, you need to show that you understand how this world works, so that they don't see you as a risk. They're only going to talk to you if you are going to prove to them that that I am a very skilled specialist, and what I bring to the table, Accenture is not going to bring to the table. But after that, you have to carry it with instilling in them the belief that you are not going to mess up their business and get them fired. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you, Ali Bhai. If I were to summarize, number one, crawl before you run. Start off with startups before going for the A-listers and the enterprise. And then few good things. Personal value. When you get to enterprise, personal value with business value is critical. How are you ensuring their safety and their goals aligned with the business goals? So that is important. And number three, clear vision and clear niche of what you can provide and how you can actually provide that safety net as well. So
Exactly.
Great points there. Thank you. I hope this was useful for the audience as well.
Thank you. Altamash, I think you're next on the questions.
Oh yeah. So
Was there one more question before Altamash? I think something accidentally got lowered.
I think Sharjeel was there. Sharjeel bhai, if you have your question, if you're still here.
Yes, actually, it was with the Sajid. We are actually also moving ourselves into data analytics and warehousing. So I would like to learn a bit more about how to get the more clients. We already in the business from last 17, 18 years, but now we are moving towards the data analytics side. We are already been working with some clients in UK. So looking forward to have some footprints in Canada as well. So if you can give some guidance on it, that would be great.
Sure. I'm understanding the question as how do you potentially focus on the analytics niche to kind of get clients in
Yes.
Canada or North America? I think one, if you have been a generalist for 15, 16 years, your renewed focus needs some kind of substantiation for you to work there. And then I would say that the easiest pathway that you can potentially take is to kind of use with your existing customers the opportunity and the service level trust that you've built out on, say, other range of services to segue into analytics forefront, and then build those case studies out. Once you have those case studies built out and with very substantial results in terms of how they impacted the business, because this isn't something where you're going to say that we reduced ETL load times from say running 600 minutes of jobs every single day to 250. That's not going to sell the analytics initiative for you. But if you could translate that for XYZ industry, we reduce the revenue cycle, say net patient revenue or denials from first pass denials from 11% to 7% on average with the kind of expertise that we have, that usually sells a lot better. So I would say first and foremost, whatever existing clients you have had or you've serviced successfully in the past, try and see if you can segue into core analytics architecture, all the way translating into business intelligence and decision intelligence frameworks across the board, and then try to see which companies from an industry standpoint and similarity standpoint you can find in US and Canada that you can introduce yourself to, with respect to we have done this for X, Y, and Z, and we have achieved it for them. And then say, I like to say that it also is worthwhile for you to kind of play the Kevin Bacon game. So 7 degrees of separation between any two human beings in the world. That's a hypothesis, and then try and find if you know someone who knows somebody who works for that ideal client, and then if you can get a warm introduction, just a value based, like in a conversation where you kind of assess what they're doing, and it's nothing commercial at that time, and then try and see if what you have to offer is even on their radar. I would start there, but obviously this is a much longer conversation on what can you do on the outreach side, on the inbound side to kind of build a full funnel strategy to get more customers.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. We'll connect later on. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. I know there were questions, but we're also
one request is that if you could kindly share your emails, Ali, Sajid, and Umair, on the chat, so people can connect with you.
So I'm sharing my email. I'm also sharing my LinkedIn.
Also, Alibhai, there was a question on the chat.
Yeah, I actually do have a few minutes. So if I can answer some more questions if need be, and
awesome. So I can tell you the question. It's from Farhan Elahi. Question is, do you build supply engineering teams first or work on your demand when looking for first 5 customers?
So the question is, how do you start
Do you build your supply, meaning your teams, engineering teams, or you work on your demand when looking for first 5 customers?
Building supply first is the easy part of the equation. It's the part of the equation that is in your control. If you want to hire somebody, if you tell somebody I will give you money and you can, all that you have to do is show up, you'll be able to do it. The first supplier is going to be you anyway, so you already have yourself. You have to get start with from the customer side of the equation. The customer side, the sales side is where you're interfacing with the world. It is where your hypothesis about what people are looking for, what sells, what phrasing is appropriate. All of those see reality when you bring it to the customer side first. And so always. So I think if I were to give one lesson about entrepreneurship, one generic lesson, it was always hit the thing with the higher uncertainty first. So whether it's in the project, in the middle of the project, always start with the thing with the highest uncertainty. But as far as the business itself is concerned, the highest amount of uncertainty in your business is going to be in your go-to-market. So start with the go-to-market first.
Thank you. Farhan, hopefully that answers your question. If you have any follow-up, please let us know. Great. Any other questions?
Amjad Raja has a very similar question. And what are the most effective strategies for Pakistani tech firms to build credibility and trust with Canadian clients, especially without a physical office in Canada? So I think one thing that I want to be honest about is that the physical presence helps. It, especially in terms of just not being seen as a Pakistani company. I think Sajid can kind of share notes on that specifically too. But a lot of our companies there is a lot of difference between we are a local company that happens to have a back office. That is something that people understand. Versus we are a foreign company. And fortunately for you, you actually have two people over here who kind of have played. Both of them I can share with you and from both sides of the equation. And but you can do it successfully, and Umair has done it very successfully. You will have to show a lot more on the competence side, and you'll have to play you'll have to play in a way. You'll have to be easy to work with as if you're a local company. Incorporate locally so that they don't have to figure out how to send money to Pakistan. Have meetings on the client time. Be working on the in the US Canadian time zones. And then be very familiar. Talk a lot about the values so that people don't actually think about, oh yeah, you are where you are, and ask those questions and think about it too much. But in the end, you want to be talking, being more familiar with them, observe other more common things in terms of be punctual and be very clear in the value that you're providing. So I think one of the things, but and I guess some of the things that we mentioned in terms of start small and work your way up with case studies. Anything you want to add, Umair and Sajid, to that?
Yeah, just gonna kind of double click on that a little bit. So full disclaimer, I'm a Pakistani in Pakistan, doing business in Canada with a few government departments as well, without any physical presence in Canada or even a virtual presence, not even a box office in Canada. Right? But the key thing to be able to achieve something like that is deep expertise, right? Where if you search for that kind of expertise, there are maybe 10 people in the world, that you have to choose from. Right? And if you allow me, I'm going to pull up a couple of slides from a presentation that I gave. I just want to share a quote that I got from, it was the director of information systems of a Quebec government organization. They reached out to us for a very specific problem that they were facing. And after everything done and dusted, I was curious enough. I said, how did you find us? I couldn't track how we had an entire CRM where we track exactly where the leads are coming from. I couldn't tell how they found us. And he wrote me a note, and I'm just gonna share that exact note over here. Right. The guy says, we found your company through web searches for remote DBS service and general PostgreSQL consultancy. After seeing schematics listed in this link on the official Postgres website, reading your technical articles, seeing your previous speaking and community engagements, and the news about the EDB partnership, we felt confident to reach out. Right? Now, before the first touch, they've done all of this research. And it's not, if you look at it, it's actually a 6-point research. Number one, they searched on the internet, which is something that we all do, just Google for it. The second thing, they took a look at the listing in the official Postgres community page. Third, they looked at the articles that our company produces. Right? We produce a lot of technical content. Right? Fourth, we not only produce content that is hosted on our website, we go to international conferences, recognized conferences, and we present papers there. Number 5, community engagements. I think I said in the beginning how involved I have been in the community and how involved our staff members have been with the community, and that is public information. EDB is a big name in our space, in the open source software, in the Postgres space, and we are official partners. I think we were talking just a little, in the beginning of the webinar about Tiger Data as well. We're official implementation partners of Tiger Data. And when our logo and our partnerships appear on their website and on their announcements, it just builds credibility. Right? But once you build that kind of credibility, well, geography ceases to matter.
I think one thing I would say, geography ceases to matter. But Umair, how many times do you actually visit the United States and Canada in a year?
Yeah, let's not go there. It's too much.
Yeah, and the other caveat is that not everybody has more than a decade focused on a very specific niche with that kind of effort done in the community as well. So I think like for the most part, like one, recognizing what your strengths are that you can play on is of paramount importance. Like, if you decide today that you're going to formulate that expertise, the kind of expertise that Umair has in Postgres, it's at least going to take you 5 years to even get to that level of visibility, right? Let alone getting anywhere close to that. So you have to play on your strengths. You have to understand what your core value proposition is and find out an effective path of least resistance, I would say, that can, really substantiate success for you in a very timely manner. So it doesn't have to be, I'm going to get there in 5 years, but in order to get there in 5 years, what do I need to do in 3 months that's going to give me enough social proof to continue with that drive? And in order to build that credibility, the easiest one is to kind of do a litmus test. Like, are my existing clients supremely happy with me? Or even like 1% that I can benefit with my services, are they really extremely happy with what I've done for them? If that is the case, are they willing to put out a good word? Can I publish their word and then do incremental steps on top to establish credibility as well? I would say, like, my journey presence has certainly helped, at least from a data standpoint, because like there's a lot of apprehension on exposing your core data architecture in very sensitive fields to people outside of US and Canada as well. So it's not just a thing where it's going to be like, can I trust this organization? It also sometimes ends up being like a very constrained kind of an environment where you have to comply with some requirements, whether that's like HIPAA or whether that's like US based, that all PHIs which relate to any personally identifiable information or health related information, we just cannot expose outside of Pakistan. Outside of US, sorry, like we can't expose that to Pakistan or anywhere else. So you do have to find out your gymnastics in terms of like so if I have a legal entity there that they can at least take to court if things go south, like that kind of for enterprises, that kind of assurance goes a long way. And the other thing is like how do we set it up so that the APIs do not get exposed, and then like they work on their dev environment and there are obfuscation scripts in between. So all of those process related things where some architect or somebody who has close proximity to them kind of solves that challenge and then takes away those concerns. This may not apply for every single service out there, but I'm very specifically talking about data and analytics. Like, this is generally a concern. And then to alleviate that concern, having local presence certainly helps. But then again, like Umair's journey is the other end of the spectrum.
No, Sajid, that is actually a great point. And one thing I can say from experience right now is in Canada, regardless, irrespective of the industry, the ease of business is when you give the potential customer that option of, are they safe when things don't work out? It's a very risk prone market. So risk averse market. So people want to feel safe. Like, if this doesn't work out, will I get my money back? Is there any way that, they can be secured? That actually moves the dial much faster. So going to that point, irrespective of the industry, that's one learning from the Canadian market that we've seen.
So there's a piece of advice. I think I kind of touched on this, but it's one of the biggest cultural leaps that probably is when you're coming from a Pakistani background. But also, like, it is a big leap in general. Never ever try to hide bad news. If some things will go wrong, people understand that things will go wrong. Especially what you're going to be hired for is going to be for stuff that they could not just hire Accenture. So what they are hiring you for is high risk. You will be hitting solving uncertain problems, and the key to that is that you have to have a very kind of what I was saying earlier, in that hit the thing with the highest uncertainty first. Be very, very transparent in your planning and process that, hey, this is what the plan is looking like. These are the things which are the highest uncertainty. These are the things that we're going to address first. If it works this way, we're going to proceed. Otherwise, we're going to come up with this plan. And you kind of have them, give them the instant of trust that you can handle things going wrong. But even beyond that, actually handle things when they go wrong. If something goes wrong, immediately formulate a response. Let them know that this is what is happening wrong. This is what you're doing to fix it. This is how you're going to, this is what you're expecting. This is the blast radius. This is what you're doing to, this is what you're going to do. I can say that I was talking to one of our biggest customers, and we were just talking about what his experience had been like. His first thing was that, man, what like you guys were good. Like they don't talk. Enterprise customers, they don't talk about good, because that's they won't talk to you otherwise, right? But then, like, yeah, well, there was that one problem. It's like we didn't even know there was something. You guys had an issue with one of your. You guys decided that one of your staff members was not performing up to what you expect of them, and you just came and told us, hey, we're changing this person out. This is what we're doing. This is how we're going to make up. And before I even knew that there was a problem, or before I even had some cause to complain for, you guys had already fixed it. So there wasn't nothing that I could have possibly done. So if you come in with a very strong transparency in terms of like, hey, then they will trust you. Then once you're in the relationship, you have to do that.
No, thank you, Ali Bhai. Altamash Bhai, you have a comment, question, and then.
हाँ जी सर, just briefly, I think वो जो उमैर भाई की प्रोफाइल थी ना, अगर वो चांद पे भी होते तो they would have found him on the moon also. So I think it was respective with that. So but this is a very important point. I deal with trade in Canada. We say the world is flat, but that has meant that there is so much noise now that you cannot break ice with emails. I mean, you cannot even sell rice by emails. You know, I meet business people every day from all industries, and they say that, you know, if somebody is selling them something on email, they will not do that. So those days are gone, especially for IT. बेहतरीन चीज तो ये है कि फिजिकल प्रेजेंस कर लें. साजिद साहब ने करके दिखाया, उमैर भाई तो है ही एक्सपर्ट, उन्हें चांद पे भी होता मिल जाता. But the point is, what if you are still stuck, you know, you cannot come to Canada or to the US, then follow the path of Umair. Outshine yourself and your company in forums, on GitHub, on these, and people do read that, Stack Overflow, everything, you know. Sooner or later somebody will find you, but then you have to differentiate yourself. And actually, I think that is even harder than moving to the US or Canada now, because, you know, you can get a visit visa if you have a business that is doing good with clients in the US or Europe. You should get a visit visa and come to conferences, come to US, come to Canada and meet people. Opening an office would be the second step, but you would have to physically come and meet people. And another very important point that I would like to highlight, which Ali ne bhi always start small, startups. What you are selling is risky product. So go to people who are in the risk business, and that are startups. अगर मेरे पास बंदे आते हैं कहते हैं जी मुझे EA स्पोर्ट्स में गेमिंग का चाहिए, तो मैंने कहा कि यार ओके मुझे भी चाहिए, बट वो CD मिलेगी सिर्फ. So you cannot just come and sell to EA Sports. You know, there is a huge studio back in Pakistan which is called Vixul. पता ही होगा आपको, right? And then it's like one of the biggest stories out of Pakistan that not many people know about. They actually make 3D art for, I think, everyone in the world, I think, probably now. And, you know, so you have to be that big to actually get above the noise level. And अभी again मैं अभी डाल भी रहा हूँ, सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट जो आपका एसेट है ना, अगर आप नहीं भी आ सकते तो वो आपका एसेट है जो हमारी कम्युनिटी मेंबर्स हैं, पीपल लाइक हमजा भाई. यहाँ पे मीर साहब मौजूद है, वैंकूवर में है, माशाल्लाह IT एक्सपर्ट हैं ऑलरेडी. हमजा भाई इज इन टोरंटो, अली इज इन टोरंटो. कॉन्टैक्ट दीज पीपल. हमारे जो लिंक है ना, अल्लाह ताला का शुक्र है, हमारी ब्रदरली लिंक्स भी हैं. पीपल वी स्टिल हेल्प आउट अदर पीपल. सो अगर इफ यू वांट टू गेट इनटू दिस मार्केट, find a person who is in this market. If you cannot come, make him a partner, make him at least your mentor, and he will show you the way. I think that is the best way I want to submit to you all. So we also have a WhatsApp group. You can, but that WhatsApp group is limited. So मैं आपको email दे रहा हूँ अपना. My email is there. Send me a brief profile, and if it matches with what the group is about, then I will add you to the group also. Thank you.
Thank you, Altamash Bhai. Very well said. And I think with that, we are going to wrap up this webinar. Special thank you to Ali Bhai, Sajid Bhai, Umair Bhai. Great to hear from you. Great to hear about your stories. And I hope a lot to take away for the audience here. And inshallah, following this, we'll hear some success stories very soon in the coming years. And like Altamash Bhai said, like if there's any queries, any questions, you can reach out. Emails have been provided here. We will be actually sharing this video recording as well. So everyone who has registered on the webinar form that I had shared, the recording link will be shared with you, which is on our website, parktrade.ca. Please check it out for our previous webinars as well. So with that being said, thank you again, gentlemen. Inshallah, we'll stay in touch and see you soon in our upcoming webinars as well.
One thing I add, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for Altamash and Suhail for organizing it.
Nice, sir. Thank you so much, Ali,
Thank you.
Umair, Sajid. We are indebted.
One more thing I would add also that there were some stuff that I wanted to just share with you, some things for you to think about online, and I'll share that content over email.
Absolutely, Ali Bhai. Once you share it, I'll be sending a follow-up email. So if you can share the PowerPoint slides and the other collateral that you're talking about, so with that, I'll share it with the audience as well who registered.
Thank you so much.
Altamash Bhai, with your permission, I think वो हमने
Altamash Bhai, आप mute पे. Mute पे.
Altamash Bhai, you're on mute.
Sorry. So Mir Bhai is here, an excellent resource on the West Coast. हमारा ज़्यादा focus Toronto में रहता है, क्योंकि मीर साहब ने जो है ना सारा West Coast संभाला हुआ है. So he's an excellent resource for IT and everything IT.
अच्छा, क्विक अपडेट देना ही चाहता हूँ. I'm sure वो आपके आने वाले webinars में और probably otherwise भी लोग से जरूर share होगा. That web summit is coming up.
Yes.
जो कि मई में है. And
Excellent.
हमारे वो सारे दोस्त भाई लोग जो कि इस वक्त पाकिस्तान में हैं. I'm sure that Altamash Bhai का office, they are working very hard for official representation of Pakistan. But on the other side, अगर individuals भी जिस तरह उन्होंने भी बड़ी जबरदस्त एक आइडिया शेयर किया कि that how we can partner together आपको यहाँ पर represent करने के लिए. So working very closely with Altamash Bhai's office and as General Secretary for the Pakistan Consulate PCTA जो हमारी यहाँ trade body. So happy to support on any front जो भी अगर आप लोग ढूंढ रहे हो, और इवन के वो वाले भाई जो कि वहाँ पे टोरंटो साइड पे बैठे हैं, if you're looking to hunt for the market here in the West Coast, यहाँ पर AI, blockchain, थोड़ा सा एंटरप्राइज का काम है जो कि ऑफ कोर्स नेटवर्क साइड पे फोर्टीनेट एक अच्छा मार्केट सेगमेंट लेके बैठा हुआ है. माइक्रोसॉफ्ट those guys are doing well, but the blockchain, AI and the medical tech वो यहाँ पर काफी अच्छा है, along with the other smaller clean and green tech, but happy to support in that area. अगर कोई लोग यहाँ पर इसको I can share my details with Altamash Bhai and then it can be passed on.
Yeah, so I think ये हमारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है वहाँ पे, वो अगेन कम्युनिटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन PCTA. आपकी वेबसाइट बन गई है ना?
जी, pcta.ca.
pcta.ca. So do go there. यही देखें, हमारा असल मकसद ये है कि जो हमने डायस्पोरा के नेटवर्क से कुछ मिलाना है, and these are a bigger asset here who are doing this. So connect, make use of this network. pcta.ca. God, thank you.
Thank you, Mir Saab. And with that, I'll be shutting this webinar off. Thank you again, and inshallah, see you guys again soon. Allah Hafiz.
Marcus?
Okay, Allah Hafiz.